Good morning. Welcome to our July 6th Business Committee meeting. Our chairman is out ill. He may be on Zoom, and I believe, is Ross on Zoom? I'll go ahead, okay, let me go ahead and call us to order at 10:02. Mr. Secretary, could you give us a roll call?
Forrest Todanipa,
Here via Zoom.
Diana Doyabai Sobo,
Here.
Robert Tipicani here, Hazel Tasakwa, here. Ross Carrara,
Here via Zoom.
Ellis Casnavoy,
Here.
Jordan Fox,
Here.
all present,
All right.
except two zooming.
Okay, quorum is established. Could we have an invocation? Hazel, you want to give us a prayer this morning? Okay. Mr. Tipconi, you want to go ahead and give us a prayer?
Our Father, we come before you this day. We thank you for the beautiful rain, how it's inspired us. It's a great thing for our plants, for our land, for our spirit. Thank you, Father. Great, great thing for us. We appreciate it so much. And now we ask that you give us wisdom and knowledge as we go about this meeting, so that our members see that we're here to serve them, and what we do is for their benefit and for the good of all of our people. Bless them all, those that have special needs and those that are young and waking up to this good life that they'll have ahead for them. Let us create that, Father. Give us that spirit, that wisdom, that knowledge. Go with us now. Let us have a good day. This we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I'll entertain a motion at this time to approve the agenda.
I make the motion.
Second.
A motion has been made by committee number 3, Alice Casnavoy, second by Secretary Treasurer Mr. Tipicani, to accept the agenda set for this morning. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Oppose? Abstain? Motion carried. First thing on the agenda we have is our approval of our minutes, meeting minutes. I'll give you a few, and then if there's no questions or discussion, we'll entertain a motion to approve those. I'd like to take this time to thank everybody for coming out this morning. Hope everyone had a good 4th of July vacation and enjoyed their fireworks and worked around the storms. It was all real good.
I'll approve the June meeting minutes.
Motion by Mr. Jordan Fox to approve the minutes. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alice.
Yes.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. At this time, Forrest, if you're ready, I'll turn the floor over to you.
All right, thank you. Sorry to be on Zoom here, everyone, but I tested positive for COVID the other day, so I didn't want to spread it around. But I feel okay. You might hear it in my voice a little bit, but nonetheless, I wanted to make sure I was here to be informed and to give my officer's report for the month. June was my first full calendar month in office, and it was pretty busy. I hosted office hours on Mondays and Wednesdays from 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. I attempted to hold a online office hours one time, but we got hit with a couple Zoom bombers, so for the most part they were just in-person office hours. But we have created and posted a sign-up form for Zoom, so we can do the online office hours starting next week. But you just have to provide your name and your enrollment number and things like that, so that we can confirm that you are a member and not, someone that's an interloper or Zoom bomber or whatever. They'll be just one by one. So you just have like a 10-minute, you'll get 10 minutes online. When it's in person, you get a little bit longer because it can be a little bit more fluid. And I noticed more people, because of geography and convenience, that do the online. So I'll have to move that one along a little bit quicker. But it will be available. So going forward, my in-person office hours will be on Monday, and my online office hours will be on Wednesdays. The last month there was a concern raised about our Freedom of Information request form, and so I did work on changing that, and I didn't think it was really all that. It wasn't too onerous to begin with, in my opinion. I mean, it just requires what you want, your name, roll number, stuff like that. But the former form did have a request for a reason. And so I didn't want that to be a deterrent, because it isn't in the Constitution that you have to provide a reason if you're requesting information. And so now it just says further description instead of reason. So hopefully that streamlines that a little bit, or makes it less onerous for anyone that wants to request information. I also wanted to make a correction to my report from last month. Last month, I was talking about the casino performance, and I noted that they were 1.7 million behind their budget, but they were ahead of last year by, I forget, it was like 1.4 million or so. And at the time I said that, I did not realize that the casinos evaluate their own performance based on a modified budget of some other making other than the tribal council. So the tribal council budget that was approved last year, if you compare their performance to that, they're actually 7 million behind budget, but still ahead of last year. The silver lining, I guess, in that is that this year, when we have a much lower budget, they're talking about increasing it, for their, that they think they could make more than the 53 million that was proposed as the tribal council approved budget last May. But I think we should, maybe think about having a general council meeting to talk about that, or maybe there'll just be proportional increases. That's something that will have to be discussed. But I just wanted to be transparent about that and explain that the tribal council budgets are approved, but that the management, they set different operational targets throughout the year based on their performance. Speaking of having a general council meeting, I definitely would like to have a special general council meeting at some point in time in the fall, but it will require there to be a special election if that's the case. And we talked about last month how elections cost a lot of money. And so I did spend quite a bit of time talking with our representative from AES, and AES is a vendor that is hired to do our elections. So we pay, a fair amount of money to hire this vendor to make sure that our elections can't be tampered with, because they're just a third party. They had some ideas on some cost saving measures. I had a couple others. We've kind of talked it out a little bit, but we'll have to, whatever we do will require a significant change from what we currently do. And therefore, I want to make sure that we have public comments on, the election ordinance and whatever we do. I also want to make sure that we have involvement from the election board. So that's stuff that will be coming up in the next month or so. I had a lot of meetings last month with a lot of different people, and some of them are the ones that are with local, state, or other federal or other government officials are that I met with the chairwoman of the Fort Sill Apache tribe, Jennifer Heminoki. The subject of our meeting was mostly just to build goodwill, just, friendly relations with our neighboring tribes. We did discuss business a little bit. We purchased some real estate a little while ago. I think it was several months ago, and they actually have a billboard on that real estate. So we just talked about that, and the ultimate conclusion was that they agreed to take the billboard down and but they took the equipment that they purchased themselves off the property as well. I also met with the city manager of Walters, and we discussed some ideas to increase tourism to Walters, and they were also asking for assistance with some infrastructure upgrades at Sultan Park. I attended my first KCA Intertribal Land Use Committee meeting. Some of the highlights of that were that the KCA is in the process of developing an RV park over by the Mount Scott Cemetery, and they are evaluating a potential trespass for a pipeline company, and there was already a recovery against one pipeline company a couple years ago. This is a different trespass. So, look for further updates on that. Last month, I also met with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's running as an independent for president. Meeting with him is not an endorsement. I don't endorse him. The nation doesn't endorse him. But I thought it was a good opportunity to meet with someone that's on, part of the national conversation and then start to insert our issues into the conversation. I'd be happy to meet with Presidents Biden or Trump if they wanted to invite me the way that Mr. Kennedy did. The specific issues that were raised with Mr. Kennedy is I raised the West Wind issue and the refining of critical minerals. So that was a nice opportunity, again, put that sort of thing in the national conversation. The other tribal leaders that were there raised issues around ICWA, Indian Health Service, and behavioral health services. Speaking of West Wind, we also, as a CBC, met with West Wind that same day, actually, that I met with Mr. Kennedy in their office in Oklahoma City. As far as I understand it, this is a meeting that was set up before I took office, or was requested before I took office. And, they apparently waited for me to take office before the meeting happened. And I don't know if that was coincidence or design, or they wanted a fresh set of ears, I'm not sure. But they wanted to highlight some of the voluntary actions that they are taking in response to criticism. And the primary one was that they hired a company to do third-party monitoring, environmental monitoring, and that's going to start with doing baseline testing of air, soil, water. And one thing that was surprising to me was that the company that they hired to do this is actually owned by one of my relatives. It's not something that I knew about. This is not a relative that I'm in contact with. So it was a surprise to me. I couldn't tell if it was just a coincidence, if it was some attempt to play some sort of game. Either way, it doesn't really matter because our position as a tribe is not going to change without the tribal council and their vote. We oppose the refinery, and if the tribal council wants to change it, that's their prerogative, but I'm not going to let the CBC change that without the tribal council's input, and we'll have a tribal council meeting if someone tries to have that happen. I also met with the regional director of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. I thought it was a really great meeting. Part of my campaigning, if you recall, was talking about negotiating for additional federal funds. And so we talked about some opportunities to do that. I think they're there. I think it's some low-hanging fruit, so we have the wheels turning on those sorts of things. I also hosted a town hall meeting to discuss the gaming ordinance. That was the amended gaming ordinance that's been proposed. I thought that was very productive. I thought it was very informative. Thanks to all those people that attended and shared their ideas and thoughts. And we are working on incorporating them and discussing the discussion, and we look forward to having a amended gaming ordinance on the agenda for August. I also sent a letter to the Wildlife Refuge in support of the Shoshone Language Reunion, gathering sage and Indian perfume there. And the last thing that I want to highlight before I turn it over is that I also met with the Comanche Academy Board to reiterate my invitation for them to come to this meeting. And I got COVID, so I can't be there in person. But just kind of looking on my camera, I see that some of them are there. But as far as I understood it, and I'm happy if they are there and they want to speak, I'm happy to turn over some time to them. But as I understand it, they've declined to attend in any sort of official capacity or designate any sort of representative to address the questions that I had. There is a quarterly meeting that's been scheduled between the CBC and the board for July 11th. But my own personal opinion, that is not enough that there's meetings between the CBC and the board. The purpose of my invitation was for them to provide transparency to the tribal council, to get in front of the people, to get on live stream and to discuss some issues. Information going to the CBC is fine, but in my opinion, it's not enough. The information has to go to the people. It's the people's, name that's on the school. It's the people's money that's being given. So I hope that at the upcoming quarterly meeting, the school board can present a plan for, the things that I wanted, like them opening their own building, getting transportation for the school, and being accountable, having the board have a plan for accountability. Right now, as I understand it, the board composition is in violation of the school charter. I have some additional concerns because a board member did show me that, some evidence in email chain that there was an opportunity for some grant funding to build a playground for the school, but that the board clerk refused to put that on the agenda. As I've said before, there's two sides to every story, but I've specifically invited the board to provide their side, and I haven't heard it yet. Unfortunately, the CBC does only have a few very blunt instruments to address those sorts of things, such as suspending funding, terminating the charter, not giving a notice of non-renewal. And I don't want it to come to any of those things, but I'm just providing a fair warning to the community that's affected that, there are these issues that exist. So that's my report. Thank you for your attention. I'll turn it back over to the vice chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'll roll on into, I've got a short one. I've done my report for the vice chair. We've met with a few social events for the chairman as well as our business committee. We were invited to attend our banquets for the high school students as well as the graduating higher education students, and both occasions went really well and very successful. And I know on behalf of the CBC, they were very proud of the staff, and we want to thank y'all for doing the hard work that you do and putting on such an occasion for them to commemorate their mark in their graduation and their achievements that they've made. And we had several, I want to say 5+ or more PhDs, a lot of masters, and it was all very, very positive and very exciting for me to see as many achievers that we have within our Comanche tribe, and I hope it continues to increase. We also were invited to attend, they had some opening ceremonies at Paladura Canyon, and at the Canyon Museum, they were dedicating a new Paladura exhibit with some of the archives from the Comanche Nation, and they invited the business committee and the chairman and I and Hazel went, and it was very good. They had, we met with their dignitaries, their chamber folks from the town, also their major donors for their museum, and we were also participants with the Comanche Summer out there that opened before their Texas Theater down at the Canyon in their amphitheater. And that was met with a lot of good hospitality and fellowship. And then the week before that, myself and the other two committee women, we attended training at Phoenix, Arizona for Constitution revision. And it was very informative, and we're looking forward to helping the committee get that put together and reaching out to our general counsel. A lot of things that we learned were kind of along the basis that we're going, including our general counsel, to be a part of that. And so we'll be forwarding and scheduling some future meetings here coming up to get that started and underway. Also, I also went to the KCA with the chairman, and they did some cultural things and did some senior and ceremonies at Fort Sill Indian School, because they're fixing to do some future events out there, and so they just wanted to kind of do a little ceremonial and prayer for good things and positive things out there, and that went very well, and it was very successful. And in mind of keeping that short, we've got quite a few things, and we're, as a committee, I know we're looking forward to these things. We feel like we've got a positive role going, and I feel very confident in the colleagues that I have that we can, in the future, bring some things to you, our general counsel people, and get some positive things rolling for our Comanche Nation. And with that, Mr. Secretary, I'll turn the time over to you.
Good morning. I want to just convey some matters of the budget. You know, as was mentioned by Morris Casanova, our chairman, you know, we've had some shortage at Red River in the previous months, but then we had earnings here in Lawton with the casino that balanced it out more or less. Now as he also says, we are behind in the total amount to meet the total amount of the budget. So in visiting with gaming, they see that not to be a problem, that we'll make that commitment to the nation by the end of this fiscal year. So we're going to be watching that very closely, and I have confidence that they are moving in good ways. We thought initially, and I'm speaking on their behalf, so if they want to say something differently, I see our CEO here today. You know, we felt we were going to have some effect of the Apache Lone Star Casino. Fortunately, we don't see that at the moment. But we do see some things affecting us at Red River, and it may be the fact that an adjoining casino is doing some really outstanding advertisement. And so that advertisement has moved them in different ways, and so we have to be conscious in our activities at the casino to be in that role of competition now, where we have two other competitors. So that's something that's all on that place at the Red River. So we have to be very smart, and I really have trust in our staff there at the casinos that we will work hard to achieve knowing these kind of matters and move out as they say and they promise they will do. When we look at some of the funds in the tribe, we've had a possibility of real shortage in burial assistance. So this day we'll approve some money going to burial assistance. I also see that the museum gift shop has had some circumstances, but looking at their yet to sell matters and other items in their funds, it appears that they will make their own and they'll come out okay. So at the moment, that's what I see, and I know the tribal administrator may speak a little more about some things there. One thing I do see is that there are many needs for adjustments of their budgets. I don't see there necessarily any of them in the whole other than the two I mentioned that may be and may not be, but those needing to make adjustments, you know, that comes along in a year that you don't need all the money in certain line items. So when you have balances in a line item and you have deficiency in another line item, you have to adjust that. So I can see a lot of adjustments underway to get on top of that. because you want to finish the fiscal year with all those line items being in the black, not in the red. So I'm sure that's a busy matter for the tribal administrator at the moment. I don't see any real big problem on monies other than we're going to have to think ahead on how we truly fund things of the future. If we're to move out on some developments, such as increasing the gaming and building something other than just cash, we're going to have to look at where is that money coming from and how do we achieve it. I would think, as we always should, we'll have to have a special tribal council, and the chairman's talking about maybe having one. It may be a mixed bag. We may have a number of subjects, and one of them being how we get additional funding for expansion of gaming. Now, I have not spent time with the enterprise because they're a chartered group, and the CBC is to stay away from that group. So it reports its own circumstances to the nation, and as you know, if you read the charter, in February every year they report annually to the CBC what they're doing, their accomplishments. But on the other hand, they are regularly reporting to us, so we do see that. But I just want to mention that that is not the role of the CBC. It's to be an innovator of business, and I trust it'll get with it and do that, because that's a place that we really need to move, I feel, to get additional income or revenue for the nation. We can't totally depend on gaming, and we have to look ahead, and I trust good things may materialize there. So that's my report at the moment. I would say that, you know, there are things that are yet under the tribe, such as the CBC, such as housing, and such as the cow-calf crop, our production of cows, and that livestock program. At the moment, it seems to be live and viable, but we're going to have to look ahead all the time because the margin of profit in livestock operations is very narrow. It's very small, I should say. So we're going to always have to be apprised of how we're doing in that enterprise, and that enterprise is located presently in our realty department, which the CBC oversees. So we also have a team, a board of directors that oversee that activity. So they report to the CBC as well. The the tax commission is also under the CBC, and the tax commission, as you know, we have a new tax administrator. He's a very dynamic personality. He likes to move. He likes to see wherever we're losing taxes. He wants to rise to the occasion and open that door and get with it. So I'm happy to see that. It's just that I'm sure it's going to take us time. One area that they've been looking at is oil and gas. You know, we haven't, for the longest time, collected the proper revenues from oil and gas. So there's an effort underway in the tax commission to be very aggressive about that. So he's seeking some staff at the moment. I think there's an advertisement out for an oil and gas person, but we have others that are going to help us, and they will train these individuals. If not, they may be trained when they apply or they're selected. So I just want to report on those. And that's my report for the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Tipicani. Administrator, Ms. Dawsey.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hello, everybody. In the short time that I've been here, it's been going fast for the past 3 weeks. I have met with several tribal members and directors. I also had a directors meeting, giving them my expectations. With that being said, we've also went back to a 5-day work week. I know there's a resolution back in 2020 when COVID was here that they passed for a 4-day work week, but now we are going back to a 5-day work week, and we will work with the CBC with that resolution. So mostly everybody should be at their offices if you're needing to get services. My report is mostly resignations for the month of June were 4. terminations were 1, new hires for the month of June were 5, and there are currently 14 job openings, and there's no RFPs posted as of yet. I did pull overtime, terminations, annual leave. I pulled a bunch of records while I've been here just to see where our cost has been going. Because like Mr. Tipicani said, I've been working with the budgets, and every time I get a requisition, and if our line item is in red, I don't approve it. I ask them to do a budget mod. So a lot of my directors have learned that if their budget is in the red, they need to fix it before I approve it. We have a cost of overtime in June for year-to-date. The estimate cost of overtime in the June was $51,296.61, and there's estimate cost year-to-date of $308,752.40. I'm cutting back on overtime because overtime is ridiculous right now. We are spending way too much. There's no reason for us to be spending that much in overtime with our salaries, because our budget line and some of the salaries are getting close to not being able to make it till the end of October, or to the 1st of October. I've also pulled comp time hours too, to see how many comp time hours we've been using, and will be more detail on my report next month. So since this is my first in a short time of 3 weeks, this is what I've done. I've also been asked the staff, all directors, to give property and procurement the keys to all vehicles and the gas fobs, because our gas usage, we've spent almost like $90,000 in the last 3 months in gas, and that is crazy. So that is why I'm asking for gas fobs and cars, the keys. The cars will stay at the department. I am still working the kinks of that because there's a lot of concern for the people who live or work in town. So the ones that are in town, instead of driving all the way out here, we are still working out those kinks to get those keys to those individuals in a location that they can check those out. Other than that, that is all I have. It's been a whirlwind in the last 3 weeks.
Thank you, Ms. Dawson. Attorney?
Good morning, everyone. So each month, the tribal attorney will be presenting a report of the number of pending lawsuits where the Comanche Nation is a party, as well as the claims asserted in those lawsuits, and then the fees billed for the previous month. And so that's what I'll be doing right now and for the foreseeable future. So I'll be going in order of the oldest case to the most recent case that was filed. So the oldest one that we have is the Cherokee Nation v. Department of the Interior. And in this case, there were a few eastern tribes who sued the Comanche Nation chairman, a few other tribal leaders, as well as the Department of the Interior and the governor of Oklahoma, claiming that the gaming compact that the Comanche Nation had, for example, violated IGRA. And so what those tribes are seeking against the Comanche Nation in particular is essentially declaratory relief, saying that the Comanche Nation has violated IGRA. And the fees billed for the most recent billing cycle were $633 for that case. The second case I have is Herbert v. Sovo. That is a case involving a former Comanche Nation tribal judge who sued members of the CBC for essentially wrongful termination. And here are the following claims involved in that case. The first was $1 million for tortious interference with the business relationship. Right now, that has been dismissed. The second was $197,000 for breach of contract. That claim is still remaining. The next claim is $1 million for defamation. That one has also been dismissed. And then finally, $1 million each for mental distress, humiliation, and embarrassment. And the current status of that case is it has currently been appealed to the Comanche Nation Appellate Court, and we are waiting on some action there. There's really not been any action since 2022, and so there were 0 fees billed for that case. The next case is Comanche Nation v. Department of Interior, and this is a case in which the Kiowa Nation and the Comanche Nation sued the Department of the Interior and the Fort Sill Apache tribe to enjoin gaming on an allotment. That case has essentially stayed pending since 2022. There was a motion to dismiss filed by the federal government against the Comanche Nation, and if it hasn't been 2 years, we're getting close to 2 years where the court still hasn't ruled on that motion. And there were 0 fees billed for that case as well. Okay. And then the next case is Castenvoid v. Comanche Business Committee. This is where Ms. Castenvoid, after being suspended, sued for injunctive relief to reinstate her to her position on the CBC. The suspension term for that case is now over, so that case is largely moot, and so there hasn't been any action since December, and so for that reason, there were 0 fees billed on that case as well. The next case is P.B. Wardy v. Walkway. This was a case where the former vice chairman, Mr. P.B. Wardy, sued the enrollment director in his official capacity, seeking a preliminary injunction prohibiting the enrollment director from taking further action regarding his recall. Of course, that case is, again, largely moot since that whole process is now over. There's still some pending issues on whether certain documents that were filed are protected by attorney-client privilege, and so the remaining litigation has been over those documents right there. The court recently asked his counsel and our counsel to have a meet and confer to see if we could agree on certain documents, whether they could be protected. We did meet and confer a few weeks ago, and so we are waiting on the court to take further action regarding those documents. And the most recent billing for that case was $5,845. The final case is Tatanapa v. Comanche Nation. This involved Mia Tatanapa, the former CEO of Comanche Nation Entertainment. After she was terminated, she sued Comanche Nation, the CBC in their official capacities, and the CBC in their individual capacities for breach of contract, due process violation, breach of property interest, and fraudulent inducement to contract. She's seeking damages for $500,000. She also seeks $126,842. That's about equal to her bonuses and benefits. And then finally, she seeks $1 million for violation of her rights and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The latest update on that case, there was a motion to dismiss filed. We had oral argument on May 6th about that motion, and we are still waiting on the district court to rule on that motion. And the most recent billing for that case was $8,420. And that should be it. Thank you.
Thank you. Travel report?
I have one.
Okay.
Okay, I did attend the, let's see, it was the Remaking Tribal Constitution, and that was in Arizona on June the 26th and the 27th. And we basically talked about the effects that it has when we do an amendment to the Constitution. And one of the questions when you're making amendments to the Constitution is rebuilding our nation, and who are we as a people, and where are we going? And in doing so, we need to understand that we are rebuilding our nation when we do make amendments to the Constitution, and also to make sure that we include all tribal members in their comments, having community meetings involving even our youth council, our youth, and that was very interesting in how our tribe, as well as others, we have the same problems when it comes to amendments to the Constitution. And it felt good to hear that other tribes are facing the same problems that we are. So, but I really enjoyed this particular seminar, and it was very helpful. Thank you.
I
Any
also
others?
have a travel report. I went to the Sovereignty Symposium last month in Oklahoma City. Just went for one day. The other CBC members, they went for 2 days, but um, it was by design. You know, it was like my third week in office, and I didn't want to, leave for too long. So I only paid for one day, and I didn't leave early. It just one day was the plan. But it was a great day that I went. It was great to network with other tribal leaders, and then to learn. And in particular, the things that I learned about were, number one, just a little bit more perspective on the tribal state relationship, and in particular, history of negotiations with Governor Stitt. So I felt like the program was really useful in kind of getting me up to speed on a lot of the nitty gritty details of those negotiations of tobacco compacts, motor fuel compacts, et cetera, which are all coming up this year. And then there was a presentation on real estate that I thought was very interesting and gave me some ideas for how other tribes are using 638 contracts with the BIA to get a little bit more control over their real estate, which I had never thought of before, and so that's another thing that we're exploring. And while I have the attention of everyone too, I just want to thank everyone for their patience and for their reports. This is the first time that we did the full suite of reports the way that we have, and so I know it takes a little extra time, but I thought it was very interesting. I thought sometimes it's painful transparency. Sometimes there's things we don't want to talk about, but just because you don't talk about them doesn't mean it's not there. So I want to just thank all the other officers and the tribal administrator and attorney for their reports.
Thank
I
you, Ms.
had mine
Go ahead.
for Sovereignty Symposium. There are over 600 in attendance. There are numerous classes that I attended with topics covering government-to-government relations, gaming, data sovereignty, and tribal court issues. Other topics discussed were law enforcement, healthcare, agriculture, food sovereignty, tribal economic development, and data sovereignty. I attended 2 sessions on that one. It was very interesting to see what our other tribes in Oklahoma are focusing on. A lot of it for the data sovereignty one, they're incorporating their cultural perspectives to their information, consumer information, health, language, basically any data that deals with our tribal citizens. It's important that we protect every aspect of our data in this era of technology and how to use it to our tribal advantage in business and government, and even through our programs. I do feel like we do need to have some current implement laws and regulations protecting that data. I also attended the Remaking Tribal Constitutions on June 26th and 27th, and they basically just gave the same thing that I had written.
All right, anything else? Okay, if not, y'all want to move on to new business, and we'll get started on our resolutions. All right, Mr. Walkway, you gonna start us off? Microphone needed?
Hello, everyone. First up, resolution number 81-2024, enrollment eligible resolution list 1333 for the minors. I'll start from the second whereas. The list includes the names of applicants who have been verified as eligible pursuant to Article 3, Section 1C, membership of the Constitution of the Comanche Nation, which states all descendants of allottees eligible for membership under the provision of Section 1A of the article having 1/8 or more degree of Comanche Indian blood. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Comanche Business Committee accept verification of eligibility for the applicants as shown on list number 1333 by the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office, and Be it further resolved that the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office notify the eligible applicant by letter of their approved membership, and further the enrolled member be provided information concerning the enrollment, including name, date of birth, roll number, social security number, and degree of Comanche blood. The foregoing resolution was adopted at a regular meeting of the Comanche Business Committee held on the 6th day of July 2024 at the Comanche Code Talking Room. I'll go ahead and read the list now. Again, these are the list of eligible minors of 1/8 or degree of blood. Zelfa May Temperance Anderson, Jessica Marion Chase, Isabel Marie Dessinger, Camilla Itzel Estrada, Shepard Wayne Franklin, Lydia Eileen Irby, Skylyn Massey, Harley Enel Joe Peewee Wardy.
Peabody, not Peewee Woody.
Wardy, my apologies, sir. Tate K. Putaconi Rivera, Tatum Joe Robinson, Draylon James Tahawa, Raiden Lee Tahawa, Aria Lagatha Trevino, Jackson Vaughn Sawyer, Vanity Lizette Wani, Xavier Jeremiah Wani.
Floor will entertain a motion at this time.
I make the motion to approve.
A
Second. All right. Motion has been made by Committeewoman Castonavoid, second by Secretary Treasurer Tippecanoe. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstain? Motion approved. The resolution 2024 approved. All right, go ahead.
This is the resolution number 8224, enrollment in eligible resolution list.
These are eligible, okay.
Seems there's a mix-up on
On this
On the agenda there.
82-2024, it says enrollment ineligible, but this is the eligible adults.
Yeah, it's wrong, isn't it?
Yes.
I'll start from the second whereas. The list includes the names of applicants who have been verified as eligible pursuant to Article 3, Section 1C, membership of the Constitution of the Comanche Nation, which states all descendants of allottees eligible for membership under the provision of Section 1A of the article having 1/8 or more degree of Comanche Indian blood. And whereas the list of applicants is considered adults but have not been enrolled in any other tribe, and the documentary evidence is on file with the Enrollment Office, and now, therefore, be it resolved that the Comanche Business Committee accept the verification of eligibility for the applicants as shown on list number 1334 by the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office, and be it further resolved that the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office notify the eligible applicant by letter of their approval membership, and further that the enrolled member must be provided information concerning the enrollment, including name, date of birth, roll number, social security number, and degree of Comanche blood. Adult eligible. First one is Kyle Latrell Kaufman, Casey Danielle Kalman, and Jessica Seneda Olgwin.
Floor will entertain a motion.
I make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made by Committeewoman Castonavoid, second by Secretary Treasurer Tippecanoe. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Any abstention? Motion passed.
Resolution number 83-2024, enrollment in eligible resolution list 13 for 35 for removal. I will not be reading these, however, I will read the resolution. I'll start from the fourth whereas, the Comanche Nation Enrollment Rules and Regulation, Section 6-9, loss of membership states that the Comanche Business Committee shall have the authority to disenroll any member who is found not to be eligible for tribal membership pursuant to the tribe's constitutional membership requirements after having been initially approved for membership, and that whereas the Comanche Business Committee has been presented documentary evidence from the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office showing that the adult tribal members failed to comply with resolution number 80-17, and therefore be it resolved that the Comanche Business Committee approves list number 1335 to remove the adult tribal members. This evidence was already provided to the business committee. They reviewed it with the enrollment office, and I put it in a resolution form, and when I submit it, I will not read the names listed due to the confidentiality.
They've already been
Quick
posted
question.
online.
I know that all of the people that were up for removal were notified, and so I just wanted to point that out. But also, are any of them in the room? Did any of them come to contest their removal?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right, thank you.
I make the motion to approve.
Second it.
Motion's been made to approve this resolution by Committeewoman Casnevoid, second by Secretary Treasurer Tippecanoe. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion passed. Our next resolution is 84-2024, a resolution to renew contract, Public Law 638, Community Health Representative, Emergency Medical Services. Do we have anybody from there? Okay.
I'm going to start at the third whereas. It's Article 6, Section 7F, grants the Comanche Business Committee the authority to implement, administer, and report on progress of programs adopted by the Tribal Council, and now therefore be it resolved that the Comanche Nation reaffirms its Community Health Representative Emergency Medical Services commitment to the nation by renewing the PL 93-638 contract HHSI 24620240001 through IHS for the period of October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025. No change to the current statement of work and current contract. And now therefore be it further resolved that the Comanche Business Committee hereby authorizes the Comanche Nation Chairman to sign and renew PL 93-638 self-determination contracts until this resolution is suspended.
Do we have any discussion or anything on that? Okay, entertain a motion.
I make the motion.
Second.
Motion has been made by Committeewoman Alice Casnevoid, second by Committeewoman Tasha Quah. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Those abstain? Motion passed. Yes?
Information you had called for discussion.
I
I was just curious to know how much the funding would receive.
She's gonna answer you right behind you.
For October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025, the total is going to be $409,219.
Thank you, sir. Our next resolution, I believe, is prescription assistance.
Good morning. I'm going to start at the third whereas Article 6, Section 7F, grants the Community Business Committee the authority to implement, administer, and report on progress of programs adopted by the council. And whereas the Comanche Business Committee may approve policies and procedures and grants, and now therefore be it resolved, the Comanche Business Committee approves the Comanche Nation Prescription Assistance Grant, Money Follows the Person Tribal Initiative, and be it further resolved, the Comanche Business Committee authorizes the chairman to sign the Money Follows the Person Tribal Initiative Memorandum of Agreement between the Comanche Nation and the Oklahoma Healthcare Authority. The foregoing resolution was adopted at a regular.
Do we have any discussion or questions? All right, before we'll entertain a motion.
I make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made by Committeewoman Castonavoid, second by Committeewoman Tashikwa. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? All those abstain? Motion passed.
Kevin?
Just to give a quick insight,
Yeah,
I was going to say, just to give a quick insight on the grant, it's through the Oklahoma Health Authority. I've been with this program for 14 years. Hazel worked with me for several years, and we've researched grants before, and this was the first one that really came to the table for us. And what it's doing is authorizing the tribe to, well, we'll know the exact dollar amount once this signs off and we get the award letter, but we're looking at adding an additional $550,000 to our program. It will cover any tribal member within the state of Oklahoma. It covers any tribal, or it covers any Comanche tribal member in the state of Oklahoma, and it covers any tribal person in our 7-county jurisdiction, where it covers medical needs, medical equipment. What it's geared up for is towards the elders mainly. It's to keep the tribal family nucleuses together. So if we have a grandma, grandpa, or somebody who may be getting pushed to a nursing home, we'll go in and do a home evaluation to see if there's anything that we can do to keep that family member at home, whether it's building a ramp, doing handicap rails, or any type of medication or medical needs, whether it's dental or hearing aids, that this grant can work hand in hand with the prescription assistance grant, and we can give more monies to these individuals to keep that tribal member at home. And the real kicker for us is we were never really able to pay for any kind of procedures or anything, training to that, for anything like that. But now we're able to say we have a tribal member who needs wound care, and the facility there is willing to train the family members to take care of that grandma or grandpa on the medical needs, and we can pay for that training for the family members to take care of their elders that are there. It's also geared up towards keeping the disabled at home, so they're not having to be put in homes. So this grant is going to go a long ways for us. It's the first time we applied for it. We didn't really know what to ask for, so we asked for $558,000, which we're looking at probably getting the $550 of it. But that's the starting off point with this grant. Every year we can adjust. If at the end of next year we felt like it was too much for us to handle, then we can ask for less. If we feel like it was not enough, then we can ask for more, up to $1 million. So that $550 was kind of just we're trying to figure this grant out. So it's going to go a long ways for our tribal community, and it's not just for the elders, it's for the adult tribal member for 18 and up, and it'll really help out our program because we'll get refunded back our monies that our actual program is putting out to the tribal member.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You bet.
All right. Brings us to our next resolution. 86, 2024. Comanche Business Committee. Signatory changes. Mr. Tipicani, are you to that resolution yet?
Yes,
Okay.
86, 2024. I'll read the third whereas. The
Okay.
Comanche Business Committee is the duly elected official body designated to conduct business for and behalf of the Comanche Nation, and whereas the Comanche Business Committee has determined that it is in the best interest of the Comanche Nation to identify officials who currently have signatory authority for Comanche Nation accounts at the financial institutions listed below, and now therefore be it resolved, the Comanche Business Committee hereby authorizes the following persons named in Table A to have the designated authority for the accounts identified in Table B, which are holding funds in the name of the benefit of the Comanche Nation. This document shall nullify any previous documents. So then the table shows the individuals as an example for disbursement of funds. It would be our Vice Chair, Sobo, and the Secretary Treasurer, Tipicani, and Alice Casnavoid, and Jordan Fox. And for record access, if they want to access records, all CBC can do that. And for getting record copies, all CBC can do that. And for investment direction, it's Forrest Tadanipa, the Chair, and the Vice Chair, Sobo, and the Secretary Treasurer do the investment direction. And then we list all the programs and accounts at the different banks. We have accounts at Bank First, City National Bank, Liberty Bank has a majority of our accounts, and we have accounts in the All-American Bank. We have those two accounts, they've been there for many, many years. Boeing Sikorsky, as an example, when they had their helicopter matter with us way back, they gave donations, and so there is still a small fund of that in the All-American Bank. I don't know, it'd be hard to list all these, but those are the places of all our accounts. And again, those that are serving our tribal programs, and I remember looking at 78 the other day, 78 programs, that those are all in Liberty Bank. And so there's some special ones in Bank First. We, as an example, we still have a foundation account. At one time, there was a foundation established, and there's just a small reserve of that money there. But that foundation is not active at this moment. And I believe it was the foundation to upgrade the Parker House. So we don't have any real ownership or responsibility at the moment of that. It's in private ownership. But that fund was created to upgrade that Parker House. So we have that there. There is one large account at Bank First, and that's the early childhood, and it's a sweep account. You're aware of that, yes? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Tipicani. Madam Chair, I would like to ask the question on the funds that were invested from our 20% funds that came to the tribe. At one point in time, I believe 2018, we were told that it was approximately, was it $4 million, maybe
Yes.
$4.5 million?
Yes.
So that's been close to 4 years. What would that balance be here recently?
I'm trying to remember. I think it's, well, I hate to cite it, but I think it's a little less than 6.
Mm-hmm.
And it hasn't been tapped.
Right. And it's still in a federal account?
Yes.
Tribal IIM?
Yes, it's still an IM account.
Just curious. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I think it may be, 5 to 6. It's right in.
All right. Any others? If not, do I hear a motion?
I
I'll
make the
make that
motion to
motion.
approve.
All right, do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, motion has been made by Committeewoman Casnavoid, second by Committeewoman Tasha Quah to approve Resolution 86-2024. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passed. Our next resolution is 87-2024. Go ahead, Mr. Tipicani.
I'll begin again at the third whereas. Whereas the Comanche Constitution, Article 6, Section 7, establishes the Comanche Business Committee as the duly elected official body designated to conduct business for and on behalf of the Comanche Nation in legal quorum, and whereas that the Comanche Business Committee hereby designates the following authorized signatories: Forrest Todenipa, Chair; Diana Sobo, Vice Chair; Robert Tipicani, Secretary Treasurer; Hazel Tasaqua, Committeeman Number 1; Ross Carrara, Committeeman Number 2; Alice Kosnavoy, Committeeman Number 3; Jordan Fox, Committeeman Number 4; Lisa Dossi, Tribal Administrator. These are to sign a verification of Indian preference for employment forms, BIA 44332, and they're sometimes referred to as the CIB, so that these individuals can sign that. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Comanche Business Committee hereby authorizes the above names mentioned to sign BIA 4432 forms.
All right, thank you. Do we have any discussion or questions? If not, the floor will entertain a motion.
I make the motion.
All right. Motion has been made by Committeewoman Casanavoy to approve,
No second.
second by Mr. Tipicani. All those in favor of approving Resolution 87, 2024, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passed. Okay. All right. That moves us to Resolution 88, 2024. Alice, you want to read that?
Sure.
Thank you.
Starting at the fifth whereas, the Comanche Business Committee wishes to enact a policy for all tribal programs that observe urinalysis drug tests are a last resort to be used only when less intrusive methods of drug testing are unavailable. Now therefore be it resolved that the CBC hereby declares that it is the policy of the Comanche tribal programs that all urinalysis drug tests are to be unobserved unless there is probable cause to believe that an employee will tamper with or adulterate a urine test, in which case the employee will have the option of being subject to a 5-panel hair follicle test with a medical officer review verification, so long as the employee has sufficient hair length for such a test or an observed urinalysis. Be it further resolved that the tribal administrator is directed to amend the HR policies accordingly, and be it further resolved, nothing herein shall be construed to otherwise alter or amend existing Comanche Nation human resource policies regarding the timing or frequency of drug testing. This resolution solely affects the means and method of drug testing.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion or questions? Just got a microphone.
To get this done, as we all learned in the last election. The hair follicle is more in depth, and there currently are no places in Lawton that do that, so you're gonna have to send out for that. Is there a reason that we're doing this, aside from the fact that you're not believing your employee, or, I mean, what would entail a hair follicle? Aside, you know, if you sit there, you want to drug test me, what are you saying, that you don't believe that a urine is good enough for, because that's a drug test as well, so I'm just kind of, this is a little bit more, this is more than what you do for a gaming license, and that's our highest license that you could hold in our nation, so I'm kind of curious as to why we're implementing this now.
We're trying to acknowledge that there are some individuals who do not want to, have that observed test. It's observed.
If I may,
Yes, go ahead.
if I
Chair.
may just provide a little background on this one. So
Go ahead.
this is something that is in response to some complaints that we received about observed urinalysis tests And so the effect of this resolution is to say it should be an unobserved urine test. And that's the default. That's what everyone should do, 99% of the time. Now, if there is some reason to think that someone is going to tamper with the test, and it can't just be, it has to be a probable cause. That's what the resolution says. So it can't just be, I don't like the way you look today. I think you're going to tamper with it. It has to be like a specific reason that you think someone's going to tamper with the test. If that's the case, then and only then you give the person an option: hair follicle or observed. And the reason we did hair follicle is that some people don't want to do an observed test because then they have to expose their genitals to someone, and some people are uncomfortable with that, and I sympathize with that. And so I want to give them the option to do a hair follicle in case they don't want to do that. But it should really be in the very rare case where there is an actual reason to think that someone would tamper with a test. And we did check, I did triple check with HR that there is hair follicle capabilities, especially with the medical officer review at Allied Labs, and it is available. Previously, it was not, but it is something that they do offer now. It's an extra $65, but I think that's a modest price to pay to protect people's privacy if they don't want to have to do an observed test, which again should only be in a rare circumstance.
Any other questions? If not, floor will entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
I make that motion.
Motion has been made by Committeewoman Tasha to approve. Do we hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Committeeman Fox. All those in favor to approve Resolution 88, 2024, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstain? Motion passed. All right. Next resolution. 89. Find my paper here. All right. 89, 2024, resolution setting the salary of the tribal administrator. Mr. Tipton, you want to read that?
Yes. I'll begin with this third whereas. Whereas the tribal council hired Lisa Dossie, an administrative manager, to administer the tribal governments via runoff election certified on June 18, 2024, and whereas the Comanche Constitution, Article 5, Section 8, provides that the administrator manager shall be under the direction of the Comanche Business Committee, and whereas the Comanche Business Committee wishes to set the salary of the administrative manager in a transparent and procedurally sound manner, and now therefore be it resolved that the salary of the tribal administrator manager shall be $100,000 annually, and be further resolved that in the future the Comanche Business Committee may give a performance-based and/or cost of living raise to the tribal administrative manager via resolution, and be it further resolved that the Comanche Business Committee shall give an annual review of the tribal administrative manager in which her performance is evaluated based on criteria to include proper management of program budgets, achievements of clean audits, timely performance of tribal government employee evaluations, and faithful execution of tribal policies and procedures.
Any questions or discussion? Mr. Burgess?
This is no negative deference upon you, Lisa, but those of you who were present at Tribal Council meeting in 2007, Tribal Council established a base salary with the job description for the TA at $75,000. So I think you need to research that, and quite provably, I'll say it that way, the position calls for a decent salary. And $100,000 is decent, but I think you need to go back to the record and see what the Tribal Council established. And if you want to make the salary that's going to be your vote. But I want you to know that somebody was there, myself, and saw it on the floor. Mr. Yacchione and others were there as well. So some of those people who may not be in this room might remember that. So I hope that you would look at the record and rectify that, or just to come back to tribal council and reaffirm what it is you wish to give to Ms. Dossie, to the TA position, and it should stay standard from this day forward.
So on the TA salary, Mike, you said it should be 75. Mr. Tipicani, was the previous TA in the years before, was that 75K? 75,000?
It was greater.
It was greater. And I'm pretty sure it was greater than 100,000, but I didn't see you say anything about that.
Why should I? I'm talking about now.
Right.
I'm only telling
So
you
if you say it's 100,000 and you have a $53 million budget and you have how many programs over 50, right? I think the CBC needs to at least make it a minimum of 120,000. You guys really need to consider that today. 120.
So what is the current salary for the tribal administrator? Did I miss that, or?
They were going to make it 100,000.
Okay, so what was the previous tribal administrator, the one that just got out of office, what was her salary? And this is public information, because I want to remind you all that at one time, the TA salary was voted on and it was posted. And it wasn't until the recent last 5 or 6 years that it was taken away and put under administration, whereas the last I remember, it was 95,000. And that was probably in 2015, 2016. It was like 95,000, and then after we got a new administration, they came in and they took the whole line item away. So every year we were voting on. So if the previous was making more than that 95,000, then how did she get a raise, and who authorized that? And what was the previous tribal administrator's salary?
Initially,
That's
I
rather a new
can take a
position.
stab at that.
That person's no longer
quickly.
here.
You know, I
Yeah.
agree with you on, it should be said by the tribal council. You know, I couldn't agree more, and it should be said in a transparent way. And that is, unfortunately, something that was outside of my control because I wasn't in office, right? But next year, it will be a line item that the people can decide. And that's, the next resolution is actually about some proposed constitutional amendments. And one of them would also be to constitutionally require that. The current, but, you know, in light of that, this is the reason for this resolution today, is to do it in a, like it says, a procedurally sound manner, you know, where there actually is a resolution, because I think it was inappropriate that there wasn't a resolution previously, so that people didn't know what it was. They didn't know how it was set. I don't even know how it was able to be a clean audit when there wasn't a resolution, right? Like it was just some sort of black box. And so I sympathize with everything you said. The salary that was previous was very similar to the one that's being set right now, except that the way that this one was set was that I brought it to the CBC to say we need to do this by resolution. We need to do this in a transparent way. But there was very different thoughts on the amount of money that should be paid. And so I asked for them all to submit emails to me, and then I would take the median amount. And so that's what I did. So $100,000 represents the median of the votes of the CBC. So some wanted higher, but that's how this number was determined. And then the prior TA, it was similar. It wasn't like, you know, like I was hearing rumors, it's 300,000 or 200,000. It was nowhere near that. And so it's like I said, it's similar. There are the CBC in the work session discussions we had on this did want that evaluation part to give some room for raises and whatnot, because the prior TA had several years of experience, whereas Ms. Dossie is coming in, this will be her first year. But in all honesty, I hope that becomes somewhat of a moot point, because I hope that the tribal council gets to set the salary in the future.
Any more questions? Before we're entertaining any motions at this time,
I make the motion to approve.
go ahead.
So I'm hearing everybody, what they're saying, and I get it, but when I worked at the Gaming Commission as the executive director, I was over 5 programs, and I was making exactly what Tanisha just said, $95,000. So 5 programs, $95,000. However many, I have more programs here, $100,000. Now, your requirements that you're asking in this resolution, I have no issue of doing those. I did those same requirements at the Gaming Commission. So I have no issues. But I think you need to look at the amount of departments versus now where I'm at. There is so much more. And in the 3 weeks that I've accomplished, I've poured more stuff that probably you're not even aware of. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any motions? Any more discussion?
I had,
I know, I was told at one of the general councils, I think it was a couple years ago, when there was a resolution to raise the chairman's salary, and people at that time were making discussions that the salary was matched. And so if, for example, if her salary was $100,000, does she get paid $200,000? So was that like a bad rumor? But that's what people were saying at general council that year.
No, it's not true.
no.
The chairman's salary is matched, so when it's $75,000, then the BIA pays another $75,000, so the chairman's salary is $150,000 total. The tribal administrator's salary is not matched, so whatever it is set at, that's what she'll get.
Hold on. Did you have something, Hazel?
Yes. I had made a recommendation that it be set as the same salary as the chief of police. So it just doesn't seem fair that our chief of police, has a larger salary than our tribal administrator, who is over several departments and has a big responsibility. But I never knew, to be honest, how much the tribal administrator had made. That was kept a secret. But I remember when, back in the day, that we did vote on it annually, and it was set at $75,000. I remember that, Mr. Burgess. But then they quit doing that. So therefore, it was no longer placed on the budget. So therefore, there was a reason why the business committee felt, I believe at that time, that they could just bypass that process.
And right, that was my point of bringing out that tribal council had established a standard at the beginning, 75,000, based on, didn't matter what experience you were, but that was the beginning rate. And I'm only bringing a point of correction here. The chairman's salary is 50% from tribal funds, 50% from indirect cost rate. Mm-hmm. And the TA salary should be coming from indirect cost rate as well.
As well.
Because of the many programs that are paying that indirect cost to the nation. Therefore, administrative staff, all of them that are administrative, under the supervision of the TA and the CBC, should be receiving their salaries from indirect cost rate, because they don't spend more than 10% of their time on any one grant program. That's the whole idea of the chairman's salary came in way back there, 83 or 82, and it was brought up, but at the time the chairman had the CEO title, and then they gave half of that was indirect cost, half was tribal funds. So that's the history on the chairman's salary being increased by tribal council only. But
Thank you.
Well,
Any further discussion?
with that being said, Mr. Burgess, I would suggest that we have maybe 70,000 from indirect cost and 70 from the CNG funds, matching.
I think that would still be out of order, because those funds should be all indirect.
75,000
Yeah, but the whole salary should be indirect,
indirect.
yes.
Your indirect cost rate should be increasing every year anyway for a max 25%. Quite a bit, based on your federal program, whatever that total is.
What is that indirect cost?
20. Yeah.
Any further discussion or questions?
I raised a question, you know, if this is a standing directive of the council, we should always abide by that. So maybe we should, I hate to say this, table this and really determine whether that's true. There was a resolution by the council. So I suggest we table it till we review that, because we should uphold what the council directs us to do until we have a change by the council.
So at least you'll give her the 75,000, the council spoke of?
Yes, I think, given, we could amend this to say,
I mean, you're gonna have to pay her something if you wanna go with the 100,000.
So, if there is a resolution, then you have two assistants over there that can go look for that resolution while you take a break or go in executive session and then come back and resolve this today, because this is important, this is her salary.
The TA should not make less than her directors. That's standard practice.
Yeah.
well, we have to live too with the tribal council resolution.
Again, she should not be making less than her directors.
Yes, I understand that. But we'll have to go through, again, to say legally, we should live with the council resolution until it's changed. So is it possible we could run it down during a break? Okay, let's do that, and then we won't have to table it.
Okay.
Thank you. Tanisha.
Hi, I just wanted to make a comment that as a tribal administrator, yes, her salary should be pretty extensive. And the reason why I say this is because I'm the director of social services and I have maybe 4 programs, and those 4 programs give me a headache sometimes. And there's a lot of programs that she has to administer. So, and plus 2007, there's been, you know.
Cost of living.
Yeah, everything has gone up since an inflation, everything. So just keep that in mind too, and if we, you know, it is a deserving position that needs that salary to match what the job duties say.
Yeah, I understand that, and I think all of us do, but we have to determine really if there's a standing resolution, and we do have to abide by that.
If there is, I remember very well.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to table this till after executive session.
My suggestion was to make the salary contingent, set it as is, what the last TA received, and contingent on changing the resolution so that tribal council can give you authority to set the baseline at 100,000.
Okay.
Now, that's a consideration I think maybe we can make after, I agree with Alice here. Let's set this aside till after the executive session and then come back to it. That is a consideration contingent?
Yeah, that way
Yes.
you can continue with the salary.
Yes.
Encourage her to continue.
Yes.
And then the resolution can be modified at tribal council to match the cost of living, bringing it up to standard.
Yes.
But,
Madam Chair?
Hold on just a second. We have a comment from committeeman up there. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring up a couple of points. So since 2007, based on the Consumer Price Index and the cost of living adjustment, $75,000 in 2007 is worth today $114,003. And then also in the resolution itself, I think a performance-based increase may be given by the CBC, but I think it needs a cost of living adjustment should be included in it. It shall be done every single year so it doesn't fall victim to any politicized, you know, anything political. So those are my comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to table this till after executive session made by Committeewoman Casnevoid, second by Secretary Treasurer Tipicani. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And all those
Aye.
opposed? All those abstention? Motion passed. This resolution will come back to after executive session. Okay. Moves us to resolution 90-2024. Resolution to publish possible amendments to the Constitution for public comment. Alice, you want to read that?
Sure. Starting at the second whereas, the Comanche Constitution, Article 11, Section 1, provides that amendments to the Constitution may be proposed by the majority vote of the Comanche Business Committee. And whereas several amendments to the Constitution attached hereto as Exhibits A through F have been proposed by tribal members, and whereas the Comanche Business Committee wishes to solicit public comments on these possible amendments, and now therefore be it resolved that the Comanche Business Committee hereby authorizes Comanche Nation Public Information Office to publicly post these possible amendments on the Comanche Nation website. And be it further resolved that comments regarding these proposed amendments may be submitted to comment@comanchenation.com.
All right. Mr. Chairman, Forrest, do you have any comments at this time?
Well, just to explain a little bit, there were, and just to explain the process a little bit, under the CBC procedures that were passed last month, the hope is that we can put stuff out for comment and get some feedback. There's also work sessions that the CBC does to talk about resolutions. And so I had some amendments that I wanted. The feedback from the CBC was that there were actually some amendments posed by the tribal council that didn't make it onto the agenda, or that there was a loss of quorum. And so those got wrapped in. So there are going to be multiple amendments that are going to be published. Some of them will be overlapping because multiple people saw the same problem but wish to address it in different ways or slightly different ways. And so that's just to preface, that you will see different conflicting amendments, but don't freak out about that. This is just to start a conversation. And that conversation is about what I see as immediate needs in the Constitution. There's a lot of discussion about the need for a constitutional convention or something like that, but that's a longer term project. The idea here is that we have certain things, just like 3, 4, 5 things that need to be changed right away because they're either the Constitution is silent, or the Constitution is inconsistent, or it's unworkable in some way. And so I'm just really hoping to start a discussion about those things so that we can move on those quickly, so that we can fill those gaps as soon as possible.
Any more discussion? Go ahead, Mr. Burgess.
I did see, someone sent me what I guess it's Comanche Nation News posted all of that information. Those forms that you filled out. Well, it didn't just go to Comanche Nation members, it went to the world. And I don't need the world to know my phone number, my address, because I've been hacked 3 or 4 times. All of you have been hacked at some point in time if you bought online, if you have insurance, if you buy a vehicle, all that data and information with the Social Security number is out there. And I'm constantly ignoring phone calls that I don't know the phone number, or I don't know if it's going to be fraud. Like now, I have a phone call coming in. I don't need to answer it because I don't know who it is. And this is misleading, and Mr. Chairman, to have them publish my phone and my address is an invasion of my privacy to the World Wide Web. I don't appreciate that. At this point in time, I may have some people contacting me that I don't know the number because they, in the past, lost their number for me. I've got a new phone number, and this is from my friends and relatives around the country. So this is misleading. If you want to discuss these changes that we've presented, let's do it in an open meeting. Let's have a work session. You're talking about the cost of a constitutional convention, all these amendments. Let's have a work session just like you're doing it right now with the people, not just the CBC. and let them see us, because I don't mind standing up and telling people what I think about our Constitution and how it can be improved. But at the same time, my phone number and my home address does not to be out there to the world to see, because I'm already on the, my information is already out there on the dark web, as they call it. And I have no way to refute that. People are using old, depleted bank account numbers to get credit in my name. And several people have hacked a Facebook account twice in my name and my pictures. And people are asking me, is this you asking for a friendship? So I rarely get new friends or go for it, because of all the negativity that comes out with this misinformation that is out there. So next time you want to publish my phone number or name or address, you get my permission. But
Just to address that real quick, you know, there was a publication of this resolution, and there was some numbers and names in the attachment, and I sincerely apologize for that to anyone that was affected, for the several people that submitted amendments. We're trying to be more transparent in posting things. We tried to emphasize to the staff to review things and make sure that stuff like that doesn't get out, but you know, people are human, and so I just ask that you be, you know, have some grace for our staff that's busy and is posting things, and, you know, accept our sincere apology. As far as anything being misleading, I really have no idea what you're referring to. And, you know, this whole entire point of this resolution is to start a conversation so that we can have an open work session and town hall meeting. I mean, I really don't understand the rest of your commentary. But as far as your personal information goes, you know, again, accept our apology.
And I think that we should have all the personal identifiable information redacted on our website. So if we can make sure that happens.
And just so you know, I did ask for that to happen last night as soon as this issue was first raised.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, before we entertain a motion at this time.
I make that motion.
Motion has been made by Committeewoman Toshikwa to approve Resolution 90-2024. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second by Committeewoman Kesnavoid. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I want to abstain, I want to think about it.
Okay. We have one abstain. Any opposed? All right, motion passes with 4 and 1 abstention, 0 opposed. All right, resolution, okay, grab my 91-2024. Resolution appointing Joshua D. Bartolo and Emilio Alfardo to the Comanche Nation Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. Hazel, you want to read that?
Okay. I'm going to go with the 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth whereas. Whereas the Comanche Nation Housing Authority bylaws as amended July the 18th, 2017, provide that the commissioners of the Comanche Nation Housing Authority shall be selected by the chairman of the Comanche Nation of Oklahoma as concurrence of the Comanche Business Committee. And whereas the chairman of the Comanche Nation has selected Joshua D. Bartolo and Emilio Alfaro to serve as commissioners of the Comanche Nation Housing Authority. And now therefore be it resolved that the Comanche Business Committee hereby concurs in the selection of Joshua D. Bartolo and Emilio Alfaro as commissioners of the Comanche Nation Housing Authority. And be it further resolved, Joshua D. Bartolo and Emilio Alfaro shall be sworn in as commissioners upon the execution of acknowledgement of the Comanche Nation Housing Authority's confidentiality policies at the next meeting of the Comanche Nation Housing Authority.
Any discussion? Questions? Floor will entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion has been made by Committeeman Fox to approve Resolution 91-2024. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ross Carrara.
Per
Hold up. You got some-
the meeting policies, he doesn't get a vote or anything else because he's on Zoom.
For Ross?
Yeah. I would like to make a second, but Mr. DiPartolo is my cousin, so
Okay.
Ms. Castlewood, can you cite which policy and section?
it was the meeting procedures. That the chairman drafted.
And the part about Zoom was not a part of that.
You're authorized to attend, but you cannot get a voting spot.
The meeting procedures as originally drafted would not allow votes by Zoom, but at the last meeting, Mr. Carrara asked for that part to be stricken, and it was amended as voted upon, so that the resolution that was passed several months ago is the governing procedure on Zoom voting.
So it is okay?
So he's good to make his second? Or
Yes.
no? Okay. All right. You good with that? Okay. The motion was made by Committeeman Fox to approve this resolution, second by Committeeman Carrara. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I
Any-
abstain.
All right, 1 abstain, 0 opposed, motion passed. Resolution 92-2024 is a resolution for travel. Alice, you want to go ahead and read that?
Sure. Starting at the third whereas, the Comanche Constitution, Article 6, Section 7 establishes the Comanche Business Committee as a duly elected official body designated to conduct business for and on behalf of the nation pursuant to Article 6, 7C of the Comanche Constitution. And now therefore be it resolved that the Comanche Business Committee appoints Robert Tipicani, Secretary Treasurer, and Alice Casnavoy, Committee Person Number 3, to attend Oklahoma Indian Gaming Association Conference and Trade Show in Oklahoma City, scheduled for August 12th and 14th. And be it further resolved that a travel report shall be given at the next monthly meeting, detailing any relevant information gathered during their attendance.
Any comments or discussion? Questions? Floor will entertain a motion to approve at this time.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Committeeman Carrara to approve Resolution 92-2024. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by, was that you, Jordan?
Yes.
Second by Committeeman Fox. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? All those abstain? Motion passed. Moves us to Resolution 93-2024, resolution carryover funds. Mr. Tipicani, you want to take that one?
Yes, resolution carryover funds. Whereas the Comanche Constitution, Article 6, Section 7 establishes the Comanche Business Committee as the duly elected official body designated to conduct business for and on behalf of the Comanche Nation in legal quorum, and whereas the Social Services Burial Assistance Program is requesting the imbalance of their fiscal year 2023 budget to provide additional funds to assist tribal members, and now therefore be it resolved that Social Services Burial Assistance will carry over the following balance. 463, Social Services, 346,114. Be it finally resolved, the CBC hereby approves the carryover funds to the listed program.
Any questions or discussion? Floor will entertain a motion.
I make the motion to approve.
I second it.
Motion has been made by Committeeman Casnavoy to approve Resolution 93-2024, second by Secretary Treasurer Tippecanoe. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstain? Motion carried. All right. Is that the end of our resolutions? I do believe it is.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, we have one more on here. Kathy Red Elk. Okay. Go ahead, I'll
Hello.
turn the floor over to you at this time.
Hello, my name is Kathy Redow. I know a lot of you remember me from the Indian Hospital. I worked there several years. Was invited here to read a letter from my grandson, Winston Walters Redow. Hello, Comanche Nation, elected officials, and Chairman Tadnapper. I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak for what I say affects each and every Comanche, Kiowa, Apache tribal member alive today. As I speak these words to you, an enrolled member, Winston Walters Red Elk, an enrolled member of the Comanche Nation, has been illegally held by the state of Oklahoma over 11 years for a crime he 100% did not commit. Although we have the proof to back these claims, I am not here to speak on that aspect of his case. We will save that for another day if the Comanche Nation so sees fit. What I am here for is to inform our community and elected officials that the very thing that gives us separation and independence as a people is being threatened, our sovereignty. An Oklahoma judge right here in Comanche County recently ruled that our reservation, the KCA, has been disestablished and no longer exists. Contrary to his rulings, though, I am here to tell you that the ground I stand on right now still holds its sovereignty, and this land still belongs to us, the Numina people. And not just right here, all the way south to the Red River, east past the town of Comanche, and west near Altus does our reservation extend. It is vitally important we acknowledge our sovereign right to steward this land from a legal standpoint and to a higher court. We must do this to ensure all that our ancestors fought and suffered for is not lost. We must look to the east of the 5 civilized tribes who took their argument of subject matter jurisdiction to the Supreme Court, and despite the state's being effort to undermine sovereignty, the tribes won, ensuring and reaffirming that the eastern side of the state always has been, still is, and will always be reservation land. As you know, we Comanches are indigenous to this land. We were not forced relocated here. Our Medicine Lodge Treaty is unique to our people and must be honored to the full extent of the law. So I ask you, Comanche Nation and Board of Elected Officials, to join in a fight for a just cause. Understand, we do not fight while riding horseback on the plains, wielding lances and shooting arrows any longer. However, there is still a battle that needs to be fought to secure our land and sovereignty for our next 7 generations. We must pick up where Lone Wolf left off, and that's in the courtroom. Our errors turn to pen and paper, armed with the knowledge of our rights guaranteed to us in writing by the U.S. government. I'd like to end this by saying, a person without action is like a tree that bears no fruit. I ask you to take immediate action into this as a nation, then collective of nations, to object to this judge's ruling with prejudice, that our reservation no longer exists. And thank you very much for allowing me to be on the agenda. Thank you very much.
Any questions or discussion?
I want to make this comment. Recently, there was a Medicine Lodge seminar held at the University of Oklahoma Law School. I was fortunate to attend. In that, attorneys who have history and have done research relative to matters of our standing as a reservation said very clearly that it still is established. It has not been done away with. That is their position. The chairman of the Kiowa Nation was there as well, and representatives of Apache. And I mentioned at that point of the session, or in a break, to the Kiowa chairman that, did you hear this? Do you understand it as well? And he did, to my understanding. And he's the only one who can confirm that further. But I said, we have a reservation. Let's stand on that. It is a Comanche Kiowa Apache reservation to this day. And so the reasons that those attorneys were presenting it this way is they had documents, contemporary documents, and many documents, which showed any time the Bureau or the Secretary of Interior or such, there were others, commented about our country, they said they always referenced the Kiowa Comanche Apache Reservation. So they're acknowledging that in formal documents and writings. So given that, you know, and there were numerous ones of that nature stating that. And as you know, the Congress is the one that does away with the reservation. Some people have always said the 1934 Allotment Act did away with it. No. Again, I just say that we need to look into that ourselves as a nation, all those documents, gather them. We have them, by the way, I would say we have them on hand now. We were fortunate to copy them, right, Jennifer?
Yes.
So we have all those documents, so that research can be done here locally with those documents, that they state that indeed there is the Comanche Kiowa Apache Reservation to this day. I just want to make those comments.
Yeah. All right. At this time, we thank you for being here and bringing that attention to us. Go ahead.
Oh, it's not related to that.
Okay.
I just want to thank the CBC for allowing me a couple of minutes to be here today and to utilize this wonderful resource and platform that we have as a nation, because not all of our tribal members are on social media. My name is Shannon Nagel, and I'm the co-organizer, along with my uncle Morgan Tosi, for a horseback ride that is going to be taking place this year during our Comanche Nation Fair on September 27th, which is that Friday. We held our first meeting at Watchataker Hall just a couple of weeks ago, and the Director of Historic Preservation, Martina Minthorn, was present and shared with us some events of historical significance to our Comanche people that at the time Morgan and I were planning this ride, we were not aware of. And it's truly a blessing. I think that this year, this ride is finally taking place. This is something that we have talked about for several years, and we feel it is an event that needs to be added annually to our Comanche Nation Fair. A horseback ride would definitely be one of our most traditional events for our tribal fair. Martina shared with us on September 28th, 150 years ago, the Comanches were taken into Fort Sill. And it's completely ironic that, unbeknownst to Morgan and I, we organized this horseback ride to take place on September 27th. So we are going to be riding out of Fort Sill the day before the Comanches were taken there. Our plan is to meet at Medicine Bluff at approximately 9 a.m. that morning. It's going to begin with prayer, and we would like all riders to be saddled and ready to go at 10 a.m., and we're going to be riding from Medicine Bluff here to the Comanche Nation complex. We're going to be working with some speakers and hopefully some dancers to provide a demonstration as well to showcase our horse stealing songs and our horse stealing dance. As you guys know, the Comanche Nation, we have a vibrant history of stealing horses from Fort Sill. And that's something, you know, if we don't begin to act on it and celebrate this tradition, we're going to lose it. And so we thought, if not now, then when? And I want to thank you for allowing me this time to share this event. We would like to invite all Numina horseback riders to please come and join us. Each rider must provide their own horse, as well as a current negative Coggins test, and the paperwork will be required to go on to Fort Sill. Our next meeting is going to be Wednesday, July 24th at 7 p.m. at Watchitaker Hall. And again, all Comanche riders, we invite you to come join us, as well as any KCA riders who may be interested in participating with us that day. Thank you. Ara.
And that was Coggins test per horse?
Yes.
Do you have contact numbers that they could get a hold of you guys at?
We are working, Morgan did attend this most recent Fair Board meeting, and so we are working with the Fair Board Committee to see if we can get an organized test done, utilizing a particular veterinarian who will hopefully work with us on that.
Good.
So more information, we are going to be holding more meetings between now and then, and we will be sharing that information. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. At this time,
Old business, CIP tabled resolution 69-2024.
one table?
Yes.
All right, we'll do that one and then we'll break for lunch.
Madam Chair,
Yes?
we did have a meeting, email that we received on Wednesday from Comanche Nation Enterprises requesting the CBC to make a motion for the formal acceptance of Edward Tahawa III to the Board of Directors. I wanted to bring it up for discussion
Okay,
and potential motion for
okay.
approval.
They missed the agenda deadline, but you can make a motion to amend the agenda to put it on, but since there wasn't a motion at the beginning to amend the agenda as is, you're gonna need a supermajority of 5 people to put that on. Or else we can just wait for next month.
Well, business happens every day. I don't think that we should delay it another month. You know.
You can go ahead and make a motion to amend the agenda then.
All right, I'll make that motion to amend the agenda to include motion to formally accept Edward Tahawa III to the Comanche Nation Enterprises Board of Directors.
I'll second that.
All right. I'll read this back to you. Motion to amend the agenda to add a motion to accept Edward Tahawa III to the Enterprise Board, made by Committeeman Carrara, second by Committeeman Fox. Any more questions or comments? Then we'll go into, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm abstaining.
One abstain, 0 opposed. All right, motion passed. All right, okay, and back to, are we back to the CIP resolution now? Okay.
I think, point of order, I think if we, since you amended the agenda, I think that would be new business. So I think you should take care of this enterprise motion first and then go to the CIP resolution, which is old business.
All right. We'll do that now then.
Louis here.
Did he poop on?
Louis,
So now they need to make a motion for this
to
acceptance?
pass it.
Okay. Before we entertain that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Ross Carrara to go ahead and act on that motion to accept Ed Tahawa to the Enterprise Board at this time, second by Committeeman Tashaqua. If there's no.
And just a quick point of order, it's specifically Edward Tahawa III, just so the record is clear whenever, I know Leslie's not here, but whenever she
Did y'all get that?
reviews.
Okay, they got it. All
Can I
right,
make a comment?
go ahead.
I'm concerned, that the the Enterprise Board is yet to do some great business. And I really feel that we need a real business person who's done business, is aware of business, and has accomplishment record of business. Because if we're to move out into dynamic frontiers of business, many of them may not even, or most of them may not even be in southwest Oklahoma. And I think we really need to get with that. And I don't think we're at the point of having much accomplishment at all in the enterprise. That's just my thought and my view. So consequently, we keep adding board members that are great individuals. And I'll have to say this, I really think Edward Tahawa III is dynamic. He's really a grand young man. And I think he's going to go a long ways in life. And recently, we appointed 2 other young men. And I think that's great, because that's our future. We want these young men to be familiar with our activities and our business, but right now, we need on that board someone who really knows business, and that we can move out on business. And I do not see that. And consequently, I have a reservation on voting on this one, because I think it's filling the last seat. And at some point, we need, again, I'm saying it too much, I guess, but I'd like everyone to understand that we do need business people on that board.
If I could just make a comment on that to further the discussion. I mean, Edward does have a business degree, and I think, Mr. Tipicani, what you're talking about is the need to have a business leadership at the management level, at the CEO level. The board, they're not doing business, they're just supervising the CEO.
But they contribute a lot.
But
I'm familiar with boards, and boards have these kind of people on them. And those people really contribute to that CEO. Yes, the CEO should be that. But I really feel, when you look across the country,
what we really need is
you see those kind of people.
that's going to really hold the
Y'all let one
CEO
another,
speak
please,
to the
hold
fire.
on just a
That's what we
minute.
really need.
While you're discussing, please let each other finish their comments.
Yeah, so what we really need is someone just to that's going to really hold the management to feet to the fire. That was my only point. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Tipicani.
Yeah, I would concur that the CEO should be that person. with a dynamic background of accomplishment of real business enterprise. But on boards, if you look across the country, boards, they place people that have great talents on those boards and familiar with business. Business is more and more complex today because it's very competitive, and the times are so messed up financially in this world that I think we need somebody that's sitting in those kind of activities now that can contribute to us. That's just my expression. And again, I have nothing against these young men. They went to business school, and others that we chose likewise. But remember, we all got out of school, and I remember as coming out of school, you know, I had to do things before I could prove that I even had the ability to do anything. So education, yes, is great, and the smart is great, but you have to prove, you have to have an actual experience of doing something to demonstrate that you are a business person or that you understand business. And right now, we need big business. We need more than gaming. And we better move on it fast because I think it's going to catch up with us.
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
In Mr. Tawa's defense, he has actually been working Numina staffing. He's been doing Numina construction, I believe it's Comanche Nation construction, before it was moved over to the enterprise. So he was already in this capacity, if I'm not mistaken, the assistant working underneath George Tagnova. So he has been in this capacity already for years. So I don't know why we're questioning. My second comment is your report, G, says CNE board membership. On June 26, 2024, the board of directors nominated Mr. Edward Togwall III for the vacant board seat and will be forwarding to the Comanche Business Committee for approval. So that's how long you guys have known about this, and now you decide that he's not the one. I mean, you said it yourself. You started out young. You started out fresh and new. That's what we want to do. We want to encourage him. He has the degree. He does have the experience. He's worked in this capacity for like 3 years prior to it being moved. So I say let him do it.
Well, I don't question those, but those aren't big business. I'm thinking about something very dynamic. We really need to move out on great frontiers. And that's what I'm talking about. If you look at some of our colleague, other tribes, they're moving out now on those kind of things. They're not sitting back just on the local little construction companies or those kind of things. And those are good because they're doing something, they're providing. But they're not giving us much money. They're not giving us profit. We need something that will really give us profit so that we can extend the kinds of things we want to do. Because gaming may come to a place where we have something that really is a disadvantage or an advantage. We don't know what Texas is going to do. And I'm sure with the budgets, the way they're working, they're going to open that up. And I'm concerned that even when Texas opens up gaming, it's going to be for anyone, not tribes solely. So we're going to be at some predicament there. And then when we see the users of our 3 casinos now, at the Red River, they are Texans. They're coming from Texas, basically. So we have to recognize that we need to get out into new business that is really dynamic. And that's just my point. I'm not trying to offend anyone, talk down to anyone, because I really like these young people achieving what they're achieving. But I just think it's time. We've spent years on economic development with no accomplishment of significance, no accomplishment. And it's time to make some accomplishment.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
I am understanding what Mr. Tipicani is saying, and in plain English, we want to bring in people that have strengths, long-term connections with manufacturing or other development agencies. And I believe that's what he's pointing to, because I've seen this in other areas. People who sit on boards like our economic entity have 10, 15 years in background with connections elsewhere. Recently, the Fort Sill Apache over here advertised for new applicants to their Economic Development Board. They wanted resumes submitted. I'm not saying I submitted. I'm just saying they're reaching out and looking for people who have strong background and history of networking, is the big word, knowing other boards, knowing other enterprise owners and leaders who want to expand their business or continue growth in a new area, invest in new areas. And this is what I believe Mr. Tipicani is trying to tell us, is that we want to bring in those strong minds and those strong connections, which sometimes is not in Indian country. But there are other Indian nations who are investing their gaming money with other tribal governments. And so we have a CEO who's strong in that area, but that CEO also needs assistance, meaning other people, other voices to go out and reach out, do marketing and research. So I understand what you're saying, Bob, because now, even though Ed Jr. is on there, he's got some background, there are other two people on there who just finished college. One person was working at Walmart, another person was whatever coming through. No background in this strong business network or connections that we needed. And so what Mr. Tipicani is saying, we need to look outside of our box at times and bring those individuals in who are willing to help us and who can help us to expand to businesses and create more income outside of our area, this region. Because I know at one point in time there was a discussion on a tire manufacturing plant to go into Texas. They were looking for Comanches to help. There's another group down in Texas who wants Comanches to come and network with them because of our historical territorial lands. And we need to step on that and try to take advantage of this request, or these people want to do business with us. But,
Yes. Any other comments? All right.
Well, I have one comment. Go ahead, Ross.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Tahawa had the professional courtesy to get the blessing from his employer, which he received. So there was some delay in his position, accepting the position. The second point I want to make is that the charter and bylaws require 7 board seats, which they've been non-compliant for years. So I want to make that point, and they will be fulfilling that section of it. I also understand that we need a lot of business experience, dynamic business experience between different board members. And if I believe I'm correct, but they advertised for it and they received applications and nominated people based off of what they received. We can't force people with 15 years of business experience to apply to sit on our board. That's elective, and the board is just advisory only. They have no decision-making authority. That's up to the CEO. If there's no business coming in, that's on the CEO. The board may have some input on it, but ultimately it's on management. So that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to your last comment.
Okay, my comment is there's the difference between the economic development and then the business development. Economic development is the strategic and planning, which is, and then you have the business development, which is the professionals in which you are speaking of, Mr. Tipicani, that when the CEO develops the board, Economic Development Board, when they strategize and plan, the CEO would literally make sure that he has the people that's in the business development portion of it, which is the expertise, the ones that has the experience to run businesses. So, again, Mr. Tahawa, I think he would be a great asset to the board, and he does have an open mind. He's fair. And he is just not someone that just goes off the top of his head. He clearly thinks things through. And those are the kind of people we want. People who do think outside the box.
Thank you. All right, we have one
just
more
wanna
comment
make
back
one
there in the back.
comment.
Hold on just a second, we got a comment in the back.
Okay, excuse me.
Where do people find out about these positions that are open on these boards?
Where did y'all advertise for your positions on your board, Mr. Carrara?
No, that's Mr. Fox.
I know.
So,
Good.
on this one here, it was amongst the board members. We voted to have a list that we brought to the board, and then from there, we made selections to bring it forward to the CBC. I would like to add, you can look at the previous track record. All these years, economic development, we were essentially robbed of tons of funding. There was no oversight through the nation. They were up in Oklahoma City. They did their own thing. I'm sure a lot of y'all know about it. I was in property and procurement at this time as the property accounting technician. We had no oversight of that. We had no control over that. That was totally separate. We are leaps and bounds where we were to where we are today. We're still, of course, trying to get, for the most part, we have policy and procedures. We're just trying to get key players in these positions so we can move forward. The board we have right now is very dynamic. There are things happening. You can get on Facebook. You can go to the office. You see the website, the SSBCI grant. You know, that's for our native people to get these funds. And we're only on the first trench of that, and there's 4 total. So, you know, as of right now, we're moving the smoke shops over to our enterprise because nothing against the previous administration from our entertainment. But their job isn't to run smoke shops. It needs to be the enterprise. So there was a lot of things that weren't being, there was no oversight on some things. It was being ran, but it was just kind of just status quo. Where we are with that now and where we're going, the CBC has been very well, you know, informed on all of this. And there's no funding. You know, we were, with economic development, there was nothing, you know. With this smoke shops, we'll have some residual income coming in, and we're trying to do it without the tribe. Yes, we need that help, but right now, we're cutting departments 30%. You know, how can we justify giving enterprise any additional funding when we haven't shown y'all what we can do yet? You know, I don't feel enterprise needs to be asking for more funding when all these years it was, they get this money, where to go? So that's just in a nutshell. I just wanted to kind of, you know, I know a lot of back and forth, but we are moving in the right direction. It just takes time, and unfortunately, we're in the position we are now. We should have been there years ago, but we're starting where we're at, and this is where we're at now.
And getting back to your question of where they can file for putting in resumes or anything like that for the boards that are now open, I believe that's here. Jennifer, is that correct? Here on the website, or to Forrest's office or the executive office at Comanche Nation? Is that correct?
Can I just make a couple of points about that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so the current board openings were the Housing Authority and the Tax Commission, and we just filled the Housing Authority. The Tax Commission is still, you know, there's still a couple of spots open. We did get a couple resumes, but we haven't made any selections, so if you want to do that, go ahead and submit your resume, jennifer.lee@comanchenation.com. If you want to be on the Comanche Nation Enterprises Board specifically, their terms end in February. Not all of their terms, they're staggered terms, but every year there's an annual meeting and the CBC either reappoints or fills vacancies in February. So if you think that you would be a good fit for that, you know, get your stuff ready and be ready to submit it to the CBC before the February annual meeting. One thing about that specific board that I will say is that I think, from my experience being on it previously, there's a lot of people that have a mistaken impression of what that board is. They think that they can go on that, you know, if you go on there with some big ideas, you'll have a big piggy bank, and, you know, all you need to do is have some ideas, and then you can just, you know, you'll have this funding and someone else will take care of it and take care of the details. But that's not the case. There is no consistent funding that comes from the tribe to the enterprises. It's just, you know, piecemeal. Once in a while they get some new business money, the new business budget for next fiscal year is only $44,000. So that entity is in an eat what you kill situation where the only profit that they have to reinvest is whatever profit they made from the prior year. So what they really need is doers rather than thinkers. They need people that are going to be able to roll up their sleeves, start to push things forward, start to have like be in the details about how to make the money that they have work. So if you that's the type of personality that I think would make a good fit if you are in the audience and you're thinking about doing it in February, thinking about throwing your head in the ring. Just my 2 cents on what the type of person that will be a good fit for that board.
Okay, thank you. All right, we do have a motion on the floor to put Ed Tahua III on this enterprise board, and it was seconded by Committeewoman Hazel Toshaqua. So at this time, if there's no more questions or discussion, we need to go ahead and vote. So all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed?
I abstain, as he is
All
my
right.
first cousin and Hazel's
Yes.
nephew as well.
All right. And we have one abstention?
Yes.
Okay. Motion passed. All right, that'll take us back to our resolution for CIP.
Okay, this is the table resolution. It's resolution number 69, 2024. And I will start at the fourth whereas. The Comanche Nation Property and Procurement Building located at 8504 Northwest Matachai Road, Lawton, Oklahoma, 73505. The change orders were not part of the original construction bid that was awarded by resolution number 25-2023 and are for building additions and Oklahoma State Fire Marshal requirements. See attached change orders. Number 8, the fire line, the additional paving and drainage, the fire suppression, the fire alarm system, the propane conversion to extend the water line install, and the canopy. Whereas the Comanche Business Committee is authorized to approve Comanche Nation Rescue Plan funding under the current approved Comanche Nation Tribal Government Property Procurement Policies and Procedures by Resolution number 22-16. Be it further resolved, the Comanche Business Committee approves the Comanche Nation American Rescue Plan funding for the Comanche Nation Property and Procurement Building, change orders that were approved and submitted to the Capital Improvement Program by WW Builders in the amount of $343,926.66.
All right, discussion or questions?
Louis, this funding, where will it be coming out of?
ARP.
Is it still ARP? Okay.
Yes. And after it was tabled last month, the chairman reached out to WC of D2C, and they sent a representative, Mr. Andy Ryan, down, and I talked with him, showed him the change orders, walked him through the building site and everything, and then he was supposed to reach back out to the chairman.
Okay, go ahead, Chair.
Yeah, just to kind of close the loop on all of this, I think, and some of this is connecting dots, but I believe the reason this was tabled was just an overall feeling that we need to be suspicious of change orders, especially change orders like this, where it seems like it should have been in the initial bid because we do have fire codes. So D2C is our owner's representative for the Cash Construction Project. And so they offered to look at this pro bono just to make sure it was reasonable and that we weren't being fleeced. As I mentioned to the CBC at our work session on Tuesday, they generally think it is. There was a couple of things where they didn't have quite enough information. So we can either go ahead or we can wait for them to get more information. They also did offer to be our owner's rep for this project, but that would cost about a little over $8,000 additional cost. But I just want to emphasize, especially in the future, we have adopted building codes, we have adopted fire codes. All bids should be compliant with those from the beginning. If there is a site where we don't have water pressure or some other thing about the site doesn't allow us to meet codes, don't build there. Build on places where we can meet the codes because those codes have been enacted and those codes are our tribal law as part of our resolutions that we have passed.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, floor will entertain.
Chairman,
Go ahead.
so D2C, they put in a bid or quote for 8,000 to review what, is it WW Builders initially quoted, and then the difference, or what?
No. They reviewed the cost estimate from WW Builders for free. That was just a courtesy to just give us, kind of double check to make sure that wasn't, we weren't getting taken advantage of because of the nature of it being a change order specifically. The bid or the quote that they gave me was, and I put this in the group chat, but it's $8,268 specifically, and that would be going forward to be our owner's rep for the fire suppression system installation. So they would go out and do, like, you know, walk through the work. I think they said 2 times a week, but that would be going forward. Them double checking the actual, like, the reasonableness of the bid from WW Builders, they did that for free.
Okay. Yeah, I really like them, and I think if we can work with them more in the future, just to keep costs down, I think we need to entertain that. They've done a phenomenal job so far.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right. Motion has been made to approve the resolution. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion has been made by Secretary Treasurer Tippecanoe to approve Resolution 69, 2024. Second by Committeewoman Tasha and Void. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstain? Motion carried. Do what?
For the record, can you number this resolution 94-2024? We tabled 69-2024.
Yes. Okay, resolution 69-2024, renumbered to 94-2024. Okay. Okay, we need. Are y'all ready for lunch break at this time? Okay. Chairman? Teddy Dapper?
Yes.
I'm blank. Do I need a motion to go into lunch break, or are we ready to just take it?
You could take a motion for a recess.
Okay.
You know, last month I did a 45-minute, and I think it would be better to do an hour.
Yes.
We didn't have anything planned for an executive session, but then this issue about the salary came up, so
Okay.
you may want to just, if you want to multitask, you could have a motion for executive session, and we could talk about
During
the
lunch.
salary over lunch.
Okay. All right.
But I do think it's a good practice to kind of give a comeback time so that people can go get lunches and come back.
Okay. All right, floor will entertain a motion to recess for a lunch break.
I make a motion to go into executive session 12:30 and return at 1:30.
Okay.
And I second that.
Motion has been made to go into executive session at 12:30 and come out at 1:30. Second by Secretary Treasurer Tippecanoe. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? All those abstain? Motion carried. We're now in recess.